The sequel to the live-action remake and reimagining of Sleeping Beauty has hit theaters. So let's talk about it. Hey everyone, for the last 10 days I've actually been in California. I met some fans, I hung out with some friends, and I saw a whole lot of movies and very cool places. If you want to kind of see my pictures from all of it and hear my stories, I posted all of that over on my Instagram. You can see that over at the link down below in the description. But now I am back in Texas, and that means it is time to start talking about some movies. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Tell me your thoughts on Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. Did you think it was better than the first one? Disappointing? All of that fun stuff. Let's have a nice lively discussion. With that said, let's get started talking about the good. And as with the first thing, the big standout here is Angelina Jolie as Maleficent. She just kind of nails the nature of this character, the odd timing of how she says things, the way she misinterprets other things, the fact that she's kind of both warm and loving while being distant and evil at the same time. She takes several different things and meshes them together really well in her performance. And in this film, you get to see her out for revenge again. She gets to vindicate herself, does a lot of cool Maleficent type stuff, at least this version of Maleficent. And also, like the first film, this is a very vibrant fairy tale world brought to life. You feel like you're swept away into so many different fairy tales that we've seen and heard before, except now Disney kind of put their whole budget behind bringing it to the big screen in a way that we haven't seen before. I actually saw the film in IMAX, and I mean, it is very immersive in the scale, the size of what you're seeing, and the world that they've created. Another cool thing about this film is the whole thing just builds towards this massive climax in the third act. The tensions kind of start building very early on inside of the film. You know where it's headed, and you get a massive, large-scale battle once that third act begins, and castles are destroyed, flying creatures are everywhere, and Maleficent uses a little bit of magic inside of it as well. And finally, it's always nice to see Michelle Pfeiffer show up in things. She's wonderfully wicked inside of this film, one of these characters that you just absolutely hate in the perfect kind of way. With all that said, let's move on to the mixed aspects of the film. The big thing here is the story itself. The basic idea of what they were going for with kind of these different factions and different kingdoms being brought together by a wedding, but there's all sorts of past biases and prejudices that are going to make this very difficult to actually happen. All of that's really interesting and powerful stuff. I just don't know that they were able to pull it off in the film that they were trying to make here with the runtime that they had, in which case it felt like I liked the idea of the film, but watching it, it was awfully frustrating because they didn't have enough time to explore all the different characters, the factions, the motivations of everyone, which made it fall a little bit flat, which leads us to the bad. As I just mentioned, this movie was awfully frustrating for me. See, it felt like they had all of the ingredients and the recipe to make a great movie, and then they cooked it all wrong. Case in point, Maleficent is this interesting and fun character, and the movie's named after her, and she disappears for big chunks of the film. The main action is taking place, and she's off somewhere totally different. But the far bigger problem is the way the central story itself was executed. It seemed like they were kind of going for Game of Thrones for kids or something like that, and it wanted to have this message about not judging people and the damage that can be done through bigotry, but you can't really do Game of Thrones for kids. So you have this big, massive final battle that has a huge body count in a PG movie for kids, in which case it doesn't have the right tone and feel. It tries to resolve these two warring clans that just killed a lot of people, and then it just has this aw shucks ending at the end that does not work because they tried to do this big war sequence right beforehand. Then, as it's a movie that's supposed to appeal to children, the runtime is under 2 hours long, and when there's so many new characters, new kingdoms, backstories, motivations, tension, all needing to be established in this one film, none of it gets any depth. We just introduce ideas and we move on. One of the worst examples of this in the film is Michelle Pfeiffer's character, who just does such wicked and evil things throughout the entire film, and her backstory is summed up in 1 or 2 sentences. It's implied that we're not even sure if what she's saying is true, but it never elaborates on it. It just moves on. So we're left with this character that just kind of comes off as she's evil because she's evil. There's also some sequences where the logic of the staging of the action didn't make a lot of sense for me. In particular, specific sequence involving a pipe organ. I don't understand why some people in the room weren't doing more to stop what was happening. In the end, I think if they wanted to tell this story, they probably needed 20 more minutes added to the runtime and a PG-13 rating in order to kind of actually dig into the depths of the darkness of this plotline, as well as show the violence required for this type of spectacle and battle. Real quick before I give you my final score and thoughts on this one, tell me what you thought down below in the comments section. I've heard a lot of people say that they thought it was better than the first Maleficent, and other people kind of disappointed like I was. I'd love to hear your take down below in the comment section. While I was never bored by the film, I do think it was absolutely shackled by its rating and its runtime, so in the end, it didn't fully work for me. It's a C+ overall. It's a 6 out of 10 on the entertainment scale, and you can just wait to rent this one from Redbox if you are a fan of the original. Be sure to tell me what you thought down below in the comment section. If you want more content like this, check out that video right over there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.